Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on PoliWine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. Here on the podcast, we talk about various topics and stories, and pop culture is a big chunk of every episode. And this week is really a somber week in the pop culture community and for people of my generation. And that is about the sudden and sad passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the 80s pop culture icon who played Theo Huxtable on the iconic show, The Cosby Show. We watched him grow up in front of our eyes. He was a great actor on that show and developed and evolved into just a really good and versatile actor. And from what everyone has said that knew him, is he was just wonderful and kind. So just really positive things that have always been said about him. And which is a wonderful and rare thing for people who, for child actors that grow up in front of us. Sometimes it's not such a happy ending, and he seemed to have that positive story. So it was just such a shock to hear this story that this week he was on vacation with his family in Costa Rica, and the story has come out from what the Costa Rican authorities have said is that there was an accidental drowning, and as a result, he passed away. And we're getting a little bit of details, a little bit of here and there. It's just kind of coming out, but all we know now is that he was swimming on the coastline off Costa Rica in this beach area, and a current swept him out to deeper water, and this is where the incident happened, and he ended up drowning as a result. And it's just so sad and sudden and in front of his family. Just terrible. As we're hearing these stories, you're seeing on the news like these clips and kind of montages of Theo and his acting career throughout the decades and just him growing up. And it just triggers so many memories, because growing up at that time, and I'm aging myself absolutely, during the Cosby Show, there were so many lessons that that were in each episode, and he was going through it with us. He was growing and learning those life lessons. Theo, the character, was as well. And, as a young man, Malcolm-Jamal Warner he was growing and learning them as well in front of us. And just great actor, great career. From what I have read, seems to have just an amazing personality. So just such a sad loss to the world and to the entertainment community. Just sad. And to the podcast community too. He had a podcast that was a big hit, and just so sad. To the family, I am so sorry. To the acting community, what a loss. Just what a loss. And so young at 54. That is young. 54. And I feel like just recently, in just the last several months, we have heard just two stories in the news about accidents on vacation. We had the college student that was swept away and drowned in the DR in Dominican Republic. We had the family in Costa Rica, the former Major League Baseball player, where his son ended up dying from, I think they said was, I want to make sure, I don't know if it's still under investigation. They think possibly due to food poisoning or some other situations. And then we're hearing about other American tourists just accidental deaths. And it just seems like I'm hearing more of these stories in the news. Is it happening more at a higher rate? I do not know. Is it just that we're traveling more and I don't know, it's catching more on social media? I don't know. But in my personal opinion, it seems like we're hearing more about these stories that are happening to tourists abroad and these accidental deaths. And, anytime you go on vacation, anytime you step out of your house or even in your house, accidents can happen anywhere. But on vacation, Anytime we go on vacation, you have these views and the ideas of how beautiful it's going to be and just all these wonderful memories that you're going to make, and it's going to be perfect, and you're going to have laughs and, just beautiful memories. And sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. You want to try something new. You want to do these excursions or whatever. And sometimes they can go terribly, terribly wrong. And I've had a few bumps in the roads on excursions. When I travel abroad, my rule anymore is I try not to leave the resort. I try not to leave the resort. If I don't need to, I don't have to, I don't need to. If everything's coming to me, I do not need to leave the resort. But it's so tempting when you're abroad. You want to try new experiences. You want to go to new places. A moment of history. I love history. I'm a history buff. So if I can be in a moment of history, or just experience something that is just so a part of history, I want to be there. I want to see it, touch it, smell it, anything I can. I want to immerse myself in that experience. But, with age comes wisdom and experience. And I have had some bad experiences, some wonderful experiences, some not wonderful experiences, and then having great experiences, and then getting super sick after those wonderful experiences, which kind of taints it a little bit too. So, I've had all of it and the whole mix, you name it, but that's part of travel. If you want to experience it, you take the good, the bad, and all the in between. But sometimes it can go really, really wrong. And in different countries, there's different regulations and rules, and you take a risk. And when you sign that waiver, anything can go. And I just feel like we're hearing a lot more of these stories. And, I've been recently watching a couple documentaries about cruise ships. I talked about one a couple weeks ago on the Poop Cruise, and then I just watched that one on Netflix. Amy Bradley is missing. And there is one key phrase I keep hearing over and over and over again, and it's pretty much on every travel gone wrong documentary I ever see. And that is when you hear from attorneys, or like in this one about Amy Bradley, the woman who worked for safety on cruise ships because her daughter died on a cruise. She was saying, you do not realize the inherent risks that you take when you board a cruise ship or on any vacation. And that is true. And a lot of time when you purchase a ticket, sometimes that can be your waiver. And so you need to really read the fine print. You really need to have your insurance, and you need to have a plan because things can go wrong anywhere, but especially on travel. And when you are far away, a plan is best. And it is just so sad when it goes terribly wrong. So to the family of Michael-Jamal Warner, I'm so sad, so sorry. But speaking of when vacation can go wrong, you definitely should see this documentary on Netflix, and that is called Amy Bradley is Missing. And I actually remember this story. This is a true story. And this is a small docuseries about this missing case, cold case, still open, of Amy Bradley, who went missing from a cruise ship in 1998. Still unsolved, and there's all these different, theories that what could have happened to this young girl, 23 years old, on vacation, a family from Virginia on a family cruise in the Caribbean, and a couple days into it, goes terribly wrong. So this is where it kind of starts off. They're on a family cruise. She's a couple days into the cruise. She's out clubbing one night. There's always a nightclub on the cruise ship. Well, she was out at a club, comes back to the room, sitting on the balcony, smoking cigarettes, and, just kind of taking in the view. Well, her dad sees her sitting on the balcony. He's like, I see your legs. I see you're sitting in a chair. And he's like, and just don't really think much of it. And I fall asleep. Well, a short time after that, I hear a sound that kind of wakes me up, and I wake up and she's gone. I don't see her. I really don't think much of it. At first, I figured maybe she, you know, got up, left the room, went to go grab something, maybe it's food, smokes, whatever. But I didn't really think too much of it. But as time passed, nobody can find her. The rest of the family can't find her. I can't find her. We looked all over the boat. We can't find her. So we report her missing. And it is really a fascinating watch. You hear from people who were passengers on the cruise ship. You hear from employees that were on the cruise ship. You hear from family members, just a wide array of people that were there. Investigators from different jurisdictions, different countries, because here you are on international waters. And you keep also, when I want to say, you hear about, you don't realize the risk, but you also have to realize when you hear people for the safety and the attorneys say, not only do you have to realize about the waivers and the risk, once you're in international waters, anything can happen. It's lawlessness. So it can be the perfect area for a crime, for the perfect crime. You can get away with anything out there. So all scary. And so when we get into about what happens to this girl's missing, they can't find her. As soon as they get to the closest port, they report her missing, and the local authorities get involved. Well, since it's a cruise ship, there's a couple different destinations. They have the destinations that they were last at the port with, the future port, and any other local American areas close by, like being like St. Thomas and areas like that are U.S. Virgin Islands, because she was a U.S. citizen. So all of them have to get together and try and figure out what happened to this girl. Last seen on the balcony. So of course, most people think right away, well, obviously she may have fallen and went overboard. Sad. But that stuff happens all the time. We just talked about a few weeks ago on the show about the poor little girl who fell overboard and her dad jumped in off the top floor of the cruise ship in Caribbean waters. So it happens, and it happens more than you think. So, last place she was seen, on the balcony. Could she have fallen from the balcony? But okay, that's the first thought. But they can't really tell. Not a lot of evidence leading up to that, other than that was the last place she was seen. However, there were other people on the cruise ship who were like, no, we saw her at this particular time. There were two girls that were out and about that night, or the last time that she was thought to be seen. They were out on this upper deck, just hanging out, enjoying the night out, hanging out, didn't go back to the room yet, wanted to go, enjoy the last few minutes on the upper deck, enjoying the view. And they said that they saw this girl, Amory Bradley, go into this elevator with this guy who's an employee of the cruise ship that she had been seen hanging out with and flirting with throughout the period on the cruise ship. These two girls said they saw her go into this elevator to this upper deck with this gentleman that was an employee of the cruise ship. And then a little bit afterwards, they saw him come down alone, not with her. So they're like, well, we didn't really think anything of it until a little while afterward that we started getting announcements on the cruise ship, this girl is missing, and then the rumors start circulating through the cruise ship like wildfire, right? So, and then you hear, interviews from other people on the cruise ship talking about, well, once we hear this girl's missing, once on a cruise ship, you see, the same faces and same families over and over throughout each day, throughout the week. And they look familiar. Well, a lot of these people, other passengers on the cruise ship were like, yes, we saw this girl. She was so lovely and so friendly. Of course, we remember her. And then when we heard she was missing, it was just an absolute shock. And then we started hearing the stories like, could she have jumped? And maybe she left the cruise ship and she got off on an island and just left the cruise ship and left her family. Then we heard stories that something terrible had happened to her, and then we had heard something that maybe she disappeared, she's missing. So we had heard all these different stories. We didn't know what had happened, but we know this girl's missing, and it's just, a complete shock to everybody on the cruise ship, and scary, right? Especially if you're on there. If it's somebody, could something have happened with somebody on the ship? Are you on the ship with somebody who's committed a crime? You don't know. That alone can be very scary. Cruise ships don't stay at ports very long at all. They have a very regimented time. So the family gets off, they're working with authorities and the cruise ship, but there's other passengers that are on a vacation and the cruise must go on. Sad, but very true. And when you hear this one interview from this guy who worked on the cruise ship, you're like, this guy is heartless. What he has to say is true, but he seems very insensitive and quite heartless while he's talking about this poor girl who's missing. But it is true. The show must go on. They have a schedule to meet. This is a business and the show must go on. So the boat does. Well, the investigation continues. The family, it's not really going anywhere. They interview this person on the cruise ship that other passengers saw this girl with. He was actually given a polygraph and cleared, dismissed, released. They said there was a couple investigators like, this guy was bothered. It was suspect to me, but he cleared the polygraph. He cleared everything. So we didn't have anything to hold him on. So we had to release him. But this guy's a little suspicious, in our opinion, but we didn't have anything solid to hold him on. Okay. So the investigation continues, but doesn't really go anywhere. But the family is tireless in their fight to find their daughter, which is just incredible. They were on TV, putting out flyers. They're on America's Most Wanted. You name it, they did it. They wanted to keep their daughter's name in the news, in the spotlight, just so it was not forgotten. And they kept showing this flyer that had her and like Sandra Levy back in the day. And I lived in the DC area at that time. And I remember those flyers. I remember that girl. I remember this story. I remember that flyer, and it was everywhere. And the parents were just constantly in the news. So just admirable work by the family just to keep this story alive. And investigators are coming in. They're still trying to do this work. And years later, it was months later, this diver I think he said he was in Curacao diving on this kind of remote local beach. And he said he comes up off the beach and there's this American woman that he encounters. And he said she had these tattoos. And he said, I probably would have forgotten this woman's face just because nothing so much happened. He was like, but it was the people around her that made this situation memorable. And he said that there was these two men around her that just had like this menacing presence. And it just made this encounter so uncomfortable. He's like, I will never forget it. And I won't forget this woman's face, but I won't forget her tattoos. And he said, a while later, this story comes up on the news or somewhere. He sees this missing person. He was like, oh my God, that's the woman that I saw on the beach in Curacao. That's her. Those are her tattoos. That is her. So this individual, the diver, reaches out to whomever had the information where he saw this missing persons, right? And he was like, I saw this woman in the Caribbean. So that was one witness that says she's alive after she was reported missing. Still in the Caribbean. Well, then there's another incident where another person reported a sighting of this woman, Amy. This woman was on a vacation in Barbados, and she had to go to the restroom, as public restroom. And she said when she walked in this one stall, there was this commotion. And it was obviously this woman and a man's voice. And this woman seemed upset. And the guy kept saying, "We have an appointment and you better be ready to perform," or something to that effect. And this girl was obviously upset. And when the lady comes out of the bathroom, this other woman who was on vacation in Barbados was like washing her hands the sink. And she said she encounters this woman there with this hair and this look. And you could tell she's obviously upset. And she's like, "You okay?" And the woman was kind of non-responsive and just silent. And she's like, "Oh," she's trying to strike up a conversation. She's like, "I have a daughter about your age. Her name is Amy." And she said, when this lady said that, the woman at the sink who came out of the stall, who was having this whole chaos with this man in the stall, looks at her. And I could tell that this woman wanted to say something to me. This woman was in duress. I could tell something was not right. And she said, and then this man comes back out of the stall and kind of shoos her away. And she said, I actually felt very uncomfortable around this man, and I couldn't get out of this bathroom. He was kind of trapping me in there. And she's like, I was kind of playing the role of like dumb tourist, like, "Oh, gotta get out. My husband's waiting for me." Smart lady. She said something was off. And she said, it was very uncomfortable. I ended up telling my husband about this situation, but we got back on our cruise ship, went on our way, and then time had passed. And then I saw this missing person photo, and I was like, that's the woman I saw in Barbados. So all these other reports are coming out about this woman still alive in the Caribbean. That's because the parents are still keeping the story alive. Well, there was this agent that was working in the Caribbean. And he said, "Look, we're getting these reports of this woman being spotted in the Caribbean. Let me start doing some of these searches on these websites that are known for prostitution in the Caribbean, all through the ring of the Caribbean, and they work their way up and down through the different islands. But it's also known for sex trafficking. And these women are held against their will, but it's hard to catch them. They're constantly on the move. But let's start seeing if we see anything that looks remotely like her on some of these websites." Well, sure enough, they come across this one website this one photo, and he's like, this kind of looks like her, an aged version of her, but this could be her. So he didn't want to, present it to the family because, of course, this woman is in some positions that she probably wouldn't want her family to see. But he's like, "Look, I came across these photos. Do you think that this could look like her?" And the mom's like, "I think it looks like my daughter." And aged several years, but it kind of does look like my daughter. And everyone agrees that it kind of looks like their daughter. And it looks like my sister, and it looks like somebody, my friend, and it looks like my family member. Let's get some proof to back this up. So they started getting these experts that do face analysis, the distance between like the eyes and the cheek and the nose. That does not change as we age, because these years are several years. This woman has been missing since 1998, right? And so they're doing all this analysis to see if this could be a match. And the experts like, "We believe this is a match. We believe that this photo on this website is a match for Amy Bradley." So there's that. Now, this has now hit the internet and the true crime scene, and you have a lot of people that are interested and want to help try and get involved to help solve this case, because everybody wants to help this family, to help this girl. God forbid if she's been sex trafficked, kidnapped, held against her will. The one woman who said that she feels like she had a sighting of this woman in Barbados. She said she kept hearing her say, or this girl who she said she thought looked like Amy, she kept saying to this person in the bathroom, so like, can we go see the children? I just want to see the children. So could she be held against her will? Is there something else? And there's so many questions floating around what could happen to this woman. But the one thing everyone just kept saying, this girl would not have committed suicide. She wouldn't forcefully have jumped. Could it have been an accident of falling over? Possibly. Could it have been something, a foul play? We really must look at it because we're having all these random sightings months and years later. And the one guy, the diver, who said he saw her a while back when he was diving off that kind of private beach or local beach in Curacao, he's like, I'm a tech guy. And I reached out to somebody else who started this website trying to, put information and help with the search and find this girl. There's a website that her family's on, that they constantly update things about the search, about her, recent photos, family photos, birthdays. So if by any chance, if this girl Amy is alive, she can log onto this website, see where we are now, and let her know that we still have hope and we're still looking for her. We love her. We will never give up this fight. And he was saying, anytime somebody logs on to, and I'm not a tech person, so I found all this so fascinating, that anytime anybody logs onto a website, each time they log on, you can find their IP address comes up from what device they're logging into and where. So their IP address comes up and for how long that they're on that website. And he said there is one consistent place where somebody's constantly checking the website, and it's mostly on the sections for birthdays, anniversary, family photos. And each time this person from Bridgeport, Barbados, remember, the one lady thinks she had a sighting of this girl in Barbados, keeps coming up. And it's always for a long duration. They're on the website and it's consistent. So could this be her somewhere being held against her will in Barbados or anywhere somewhere in the Caribbean? So, I mean, it is really a case. I hope that the internet crime sleuths get out there and get involved in this case. It is a popular case in the crime community anyway. I'm telling you, the Netflix documentary or docuseries called Don't Fuck with Cats, it is a great thriller and crime solving documentary. To see the internet sleuths go after and just hunt down this monster all over the world. It is a great thriller to see the world get involved to hunt down a monster. It's great. And this is the crew that we need to help solve this case. There was one woman in particular that was all over that Don't Bleep with Cats. She was just a phenomenal internet sleuth, an investigator. She should start her own investigating company. Mora something, is that her name? I don't remember. She was amazing. We need you to help solve this crime. Let's get this woman. Let's get this crew. And kudos to the internet sleuths out there. I'm calling to the internet crimes community. We need you. We need you now. And I'm fascinated with these crime documentaries. And it's nice to see some of these cold cases that have just been sitting around for a long time, just not going anywhere, getting the recognition they need. And now with new technology, maybe help re-examine some of the evidence that we had from the past, look into it with fresh eyes, new technology, and let's see if we can solve it, get justice for the victim, and get justice for the family. But just an interesting case, really interesting case. Where is this going to go? Different theories about what could have happened. And I hope we get some answers here. This documentary or docuseries just came out a couple days ago, and literally, like within several hours of it hitting Netflix, I'm getting these notifications that all these people have these theories and what's happening on Reddit and what's going on in the internet, and the internet sleuths are, what their takes are. And I love it. Keep doing what you do, and keep up the hard work. It's great. But hopefully we can get some answers to her case. I hope that we are going to get some answers about the whole Epstein files. Still a major topic in politics. A lot's been bouncing around in DC these days, but the Epstein files just keeps coming back on the loop, and it is a story that is just unrelenting. And although the Trump administration is really trying to redirect that conversation and topic to, you name it, anything and everything, to releasing more of the Martin Luther King files, to blaming former administrations, to you name it. It's just getting crazy out there. But that subject just keeps coming back. People are hungry. They want answers. And just to shut it down and say nothing to be seen here is not going to cut it. I guess their thought process is, let's just give it a little time. People will forget about it. And when we come back for the new session, there's what case, what files, that's the past. Let's forget about it. Well, that's not going to happen. People are still pissed. They still want answers. And if you care or don't care about if it's released or not, and a majority of his base care. And when you promise someone something, or a large group something, and you keep tossing breadcrumbs out them, like, we're going to give you a little bit here. We've got a list. We've got pictures. We've got videos. We have flight logs. We have testimonies. When we have all this piling and sitting on my desk to be reviewed, when you keep throwing out morsels to everybody and they're like, I got one here, I want here. They want the pie now. And you're giving them nothing, and they're hungry, and it's not going to go away. Now, there's some people are having an about face in the party. Some people just want to walk away slowly. And I just love that approach. The people that were so on that bandwagon now, they're like, what are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Like full amnesia in his party. But then other people are kind of taking steps saying, I think we should release something. And others are backing up what Trump said and said, look, where the Attorney General feels that we have enough credible information and they feel like they can release it, then we should release it. So will they? Won't they? That's the question. I said that the other week. I think this is going to be the scandal that his presidency just can't shake, Trump. And still not going away. And when you are turning on a part of your base and calling them names, that's I think that's a terrible turn. I really do. Don't turn on the people that help get you elected and push for you to get there and fought for you. And you also have that new lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal about the whole Epstein story, back to Trump. And these are all allegations, and Trump has denied anything and everything relating to Epstein. But we do know that they did have a history together. There's photographs. So what will come out? The history is just too long. But what story are we going to get? And can you survive it? I guess that's the question. So Republicans and Democrats, we have an election coming around the corner. So those who want to retain their seats or even get a seat, Think about this, that there is somebody sitting in prison still to this day that was affiliated with the crimes and Jeffrey Epstein, and that's Ghislaine Maxwell. Is she going to talk? Because that's who I would be worried about. And can we give this woman some extra protection right now? Because as we're all sitting there talking about this scandal right now, she can hold the key. I'm just going to say that, but I would be worried with her. That's my thought. That's my take. But again, Trump has denied all allegations and said he had nothing. And him and Jeffrey Epstein weren't friends for many, many years. They once had a relationship, but he didn't know him all that well and all that stuff. So backpedal. But there are photos circulating, but in the internet. But at that time, everybody in the New York scene hung out, did their own thing, and all that stuff. But yeah, the thriller that won't go away. So let's see what happens in September when everybody comes back to session. Will this scandal quiet down a bit? Will it be more amplified by more conversation and just things circulating out for the next several weeks? I don't know, but I'm definitely interested. And not only that, in the world of politics, August 1st, still around the corner. Tariffs are supposed to kick in, and we're already starting to feel a little effects of it. We're feeling the anxiety, we're feeling the tension, and we're going to start feeling it in our wallets. So we were just talking about documentaries, excellent documentaries that I just recently saw on Netflix. And on Netflix, there is a mini series just released with Eric Bana called Untamed. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. It is definitely a suspense. And Eric Bana is a federal agent who works in a special department in Yosemite National Park, where there was a death. This girl. What a crazy opening scene. And you see these two rock climbers like scaling El Capitan and in Yosemite Park, and here they are right on the rock face, putting in their hooks and feeding the line. And next thing you know, you see this body start tumbling from the top of the mountain. You're like, what the heck? And right into it. We're here to solve what happened to this girl. How did she die? Was it an accident? Was it a suicide, or was there foul play? So here we are right in the midst of in this investigation. And Eric Bana is such a great actor. I love him. I think he's so good, very versatile. On a side note, I have such a hard time watching him. And I love it. And the reason I say that, and that goes back to a mini series he was in years ago called Dirty John with him and Connie Britton. Love her. And Connie Britton meets this guy, Eric Bana, who she falls in love with, but he's a con artist, he's a control freak, and he's a stalker and just full-on psychopath. And Eric Bana played him so well. He channeled that creepy psychopath just too well. Too good. He was too good. Too good. And he freaked me out, man. He totally freaked me out. I love him, but every time I seen him and everything, and he's so good looking, and you see him, you're like, oh my God, he's so good. And then I'm like, he's Dirty John. And I see that scene at the end of Dirty John where he and that girl, the daughter, have that fight scene and he gets stabbed in the eye. I always see that scene. Too good, Eric Bana, but he was awesome in this role. He was a great detective. He's played a very troubled character really well. He gets into his relationship with his ex-wife. He gets into the loss of a child. You get into the whole native culture scene there in Yosemite, which that took a whole fascinating, interesting turn. I loved it. I really liked the miniseries. It was suspenseful. It was a thriller. Good acting from him and all the other cast. I give it 2 thumbs up myself. So Netflix, Untamed, Eric Bana. I really liked it. Also, go back and watch the Amy Bradley docu-series. Really good. Well, I gotta tell you, Netflix have nailed it for this week, and I am enjoying it. And it wouldn't be the same if we did not work our way over into our world of Bravo. We are still getting details coming out with the whole Denise Richards and Aaron divorce, and it's getting ugly. He's throwing out accusations. She's throwing out accusations. But all I can think about is that beautiful little girl, was it Eloise, her daughter with special needs, who is just so cute. And to see that family of support fall apart for an individual that just needs that additional love and support, that's really sad. But I gotta tell you, just hearing this details coming out of this divorce, it is toxic, it is crazy. Denise Richards, we love Denise Richards, but we have seen a little side of the craziness. I always think of that scene from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at Kyle Richards' party, where Dory comes up to her and she's like, honey, I think your coat's on upside down. Dory's trying to be discreet and respectful in this scene. And Denise Richard, I don't know what she took or how many cocktails she had. Great scene. She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I know what you're trying to do. And you're like, what is happening? Iconic scene. Incredible scene. Never forget that scene as long as I live. We've seen other scenes with Denise Richard have flying off the handle. She's been on other shows and miniseries. We've seen her go batshit crazy, and that's kind of one of the things that we like about her. And not only, this girl was married to Charlie Sheen, Mr. Tiger Blood himself. So you got a wild, crazy streak to kind of have that pass. So this divorce is all over the place. We're going to get a lot more details. It's going to get ugly. I'm definitely going to hear it. And I am going to be taking every morsel in of this as I can, because it's crazy. Poor Denise. I feel like Denise Richard does have a good heart. She's taken in this beautiful family. She's taken in all her her ex's other wife's kid when she's in rehab. She rescues animals left and right. She obviously has a heart of good, but there's a whole bunch of crazy happening in the background. But I still love the girl. Don't get me wrong. I still think she's great. But Denise Richards, oh, you poor girl. There is just too much happening there. Then you have the drama on King's Court. I didn't think I was going to like this show. I'm kind of loving it. You've got Tyson. All the women are fighting over Tyson Beckford. God, he's so gorgeous. Then you have Carlos, who has the girls fighting over him in drama. Ooh, catfight is on. Then you've got, was it Titus? Oh, all the girls are going at him. And this guy, he's a gentle giant. He's huge. He's a WWE wrestler. The guy is he's massive, but he is so tender and so sweet. I could not love this guy more. He is adorable. And the fact that you have a school for special needs, so cute. Of course, that touches my heart because of my daughter. And the girl that he's talking to that came in with the mesh pants, who is just stunning, who also has a child who has autism. I hope it works out. You two are an adorable couple, and I am liking it. King's Court, you took me by surprise. I like the Queen's Court, but King's Court and Holly Robinson Pete and Rodney Pete, I still like you two as the host. I like how you guys are as a couple. I like how you guys kind of bicker a little bit and banter as a couple, but you guys are a good couple together. And how she got emotional when Titus, when he was talking about, how he was just honoring that woman was with whose son has autism, and she started crying. I started crying. I was like, yes. Yes, he is the man. He might be the whole package. And he likes water sports in Tampa. I am down. Team Titus. I just love him, He's just awesome. All the guys are great, but the cat fights are on. The girls are making the moves. That we had two girls walk off. Delicious. So good. It is on. I was like, two girls walked off in one episode? This is what, episode 3? And I like that they're bringing new girls on. And I like that there is a wide age group. You've got girls in 20s, in the 30s, in the 40s. You have age appropriate women for the bachelors. I like it. You get a little bit of all. You get the young, you get the in between, you get the old, you get it all. So I like that. So yes, I am feeling it. I'm liking it. And who's going to be battling out next? What's the next challenge going to be? And then we had Miami this past week, The Real Housewives of Miami, which is a great episode. And Gertie trying to be the mediator of peace during that conversation between Larsa and Lisa. Fantastic. We're going to get into that to the next episode. I want to get into Below Deck. I haven't touched that one in a while. I definitely want to get into the McBee Dynasty. Oh, yes. That one is so good. So much to get into. Let's not forget about the premiere of The Real Housewives of Orange County. Guys, we got a lot coming down the pike, and I am ready to get into it, and so many other shows and documentaries, but we're going to save it for the next show. So that is it for us today on PoliWine. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please follow PoliWine on Instagram at PoliWineTime. And please follow, like, and subscribe to PoliWine wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye.